We must make arrangements, silent talks and soft estrangements.
I yearned to return to Estolia from the time I left. It was clear that I had made a tremendous mistake, but there was no return. I stood with the others on the deck of the ship and listened to the keeper tell us that if we left, we would never be able to return. I was certain it was the right decision, but knew soon enough that it was the worst decision of my life. The only comfort I had was the way Peritarsis said that we could not return, and also implied that our bloodline would someday see Estolia's shores again. Ophelia and Scrito.
A couple of hours later, Gregorio closed the door to Angel's room, relieved that she was finally asleep. He returned to the living room. Warren sat on the sofa, a drink held loosely in his hand, eyes shut. When Gregorio entered, Warren's eyes opened.
"Well,"
he said, his voice flat.
"I guess this makes things easier for you."
Gregorio shrugged.
I would have preferred it to end differently.
He drew a slow breath before continuing.
I have been in touch with the authorities here, as well as with those in Estolia. And I have obtained permission for Willow to be buried in Estolia, unless you have an objection. We will be leaving tomorrow. First thing in the morning, a representative from a moving firm will be here. We will speak with the girls about which of their possessions hold significance for them, and make plans for those items to be shipped to Estolia.
Warren looked at him, as if trying to gauge Gregorio's resolve or weaknesses.
"Have you come up with a plan regarding Willow's assets?"
Gregorio was grateful for the wealth that he could access when necessary.
As I understand it, Willow had few concrete assets. This house was yours before the marriage, and you were likely to lose it in the divorce.
Warren nodded.
"That was one reason I was dragging my feet on the divorce. I was trying to figure out a way to keep this house, make sure she didn't get anything that belonged to me, if I could swing it."
There is one asset belonging to Willow of which I have been informed you were previously unaware. As her husband, you now inherit all of her property. The situation is complicated by the fact that she has 4 daughters. I bring this matter to your attention because, according to my inquiries, you are generally regarded as a fair-minded man. It does not seem likely you would deny her daughters their rightful share of the inheritance. At the same time, I am aware you are not inclined to continue raising them, as none are biologically your own.
Warren was looking at him with a frown.
"What asset?"
he asked.
She owns and rents a property in New York City. The resident has expressed an interest in purchasing it. If you accept his offer, you will receive a substantial sum of money. I have asked one of our family lawyers to work on an agreement that we believe will be fair for all involved.
Warren looked ready to question him, but before he could, the musical sound of the doorbell rang out. Gregorio got to his feet and went to open the door. He smiled in relief.
Anthony, please come in.
Escorting him back to the living room, Gregorio made the introductions with formal precision.
Warren Griggs, husband of my late sister-in-law. This is Anthony Luke Dumaine. He is a relative of mine and an executive at Dumaine International. He has offered to work with you in making arrangements for the girls. Anthony will represent their interests.
Anthony took over, presenting the information with a clarity and conciseness that surpassed Gregorio's own careful explanations.
The property in New York is worth $11 million, more or less. After taxes, fees, etc., you can expect to net between $8 and $9 million. Had you completed the divorce you were working on, none of those assets would be yours. By rights, the entire inheritance belongs to the 4 daughters of Willow Griggs. What we would like you to consider is a disbursement of these assets that will be fair, establishing 4 trust funds, each with $1 million for each of the 4 girls. This would allocate slightly more than 50% of her assets to you.
"That seems fair,"
Warren said. He sounded somewhat breathless to be learning of such a sum of money available to him.
We would further ask you to promise that your assets, should you leave no other offspring, will be willed to the 4 girls. Naturally, if you marry and have your own children, you would be expected to primarily consider disposing of the funds to your natural children. In that case, 1/4 of your assets should be bequeathed to the 4 daughters of Willow Griggs, with the remainder passing to your natural children.
Warren leaned forward and looked at the documents the lawyer presented to him. After a moment, he nodded and said with more sincerity than Gregorio had previously sensed from him,
I think this is perfectly fair, perhaps even more generous for me than I would deserve, since I didn't even know about these assets.
To facilitate everything, my office will task one of our associates to work with you in finalizing the sale of the property, setting up the trust funds, and drafting your will to ensure the girls' interests are properly stipulated.
Anthony said.
I have here a simple contract that states your willingness to comply with the specified terms we have set before you.
Warren signed the contract without hesitation. Here was a man who could see the solution to 2 pressing problems, sweetened by a substantial sum of money that would increase his net worth by nearly 25%. The 4 girls, none of whom were related to him, would not be separated, and they would be raised by their one remaining relative on their mother's side of the family. He was also free to move on with his life, the disaster of his marriage behind him. Gregorio would be able to swiftly return to Wraith. He felt a rush of relief and pride, knowing he had resolved the one issue that had weighed heavily on her, the safety and happiness of the girls. Seeing her smile, free from worry, would be a reward beyond any measure. He had done something truly meaningful, and that made him feel extraordinary.
Turning lost to what feels right.